Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake and best advice is just go.
Mm.
Just go. Stop planning, stop talking about it. Just do it today. Just do it.
Welcome to a new episode at the Dev Device Podcast. My name is Dano Falk, and today I have a special guest. His name is John Roman. Welcome, John.
Donna, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. I think we are located on the opposite sides of the
Yeah,
planet as
12,
often. With
12 hours,
you're based
I think.
12 hours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I tend to be 12 hours ahead of the Americans, which it's kind of funny, but yeah, it's the evening here. It's kind of midday in where you are. Which is Atlanta, right? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Atlanta. It's
Ah,
8 a.m. here.
yes. I found you looking for successful entrepreneurs and business leaders, and you most obviously are one of those guys. So I saw what you're doing with BattlBox, and I think it's quite fascinating. So tell us what's happening with BattlBox, and what is this business doing?
Sure. So BattlBox, we started it in 2015. So it's been um actually last week was 9 years, which is
Hmm.
crazy that it's been going on that long. So we started out in a little bit different than we are now, but still similar. So ultimately we're an outdoor and adventure brand. So anything involving the outdoors. So thinking camping, hiking, survival, literally anything under the sun when it comes to outside,
Hmm.
or preparation.
Hmm.
So the main part of the business, and it was the only part of the business when we started, was a subscription box. So
Hmm.
monthly, mystery style, drop style subscription box. Four
Hmm.
different tiers. The basic, which is the lowest cost one, which is 35 a month plus shipping plus sales tax, all the way up to the Pro Plus, which is the 170 a month plus shipping plus sales tax. Um,
Hmm.
and it's also, our theory when we started was that most people were going to be in the basic box, and then we'd have a small handful in the higher tier boxes. But our most
Hmm.
popular box is actually the Pro Plus, the
Wow.
170 plus shipping and sales tax. We have 50% of our base of our members are actually in that tier. And yeah, so
You
started.
should come up with a Pro Plus Plus. Hey, how about the Pro Plus Plus?
Yeah, we
You know,
tried, and we'll probably try again. But it
all
just
right.
it is the sweet spot.
Cool.
So started 2015. Um, quickly into our journey, we really put a high level of importance in content and building community, and
Mm.
ultimately that's our secret sauce. That's how we separate ourselves from everyone else. So
Mhm.
the content piece led us probably to the high point of 2020 when we had a Netflix TV show called
Oh,
Survival. So it's available in all regions. You can just open up Netflix and search BattlBox, and our show comes up. Um, Very unusual for a brand to have a show,
oh yeah. Oh
um,
yeah.
because it acts as a commercial. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, a lot of crazy things happened through the years. In 2021, after the show, we had our exit. We sold the business, um,
Oh.
and then oddly, in 2024, this or 2023, last year in April, we actually bought the business back.
What?
Um, which is not. It's not.
I never heard this, dude.
Yeah,
Seriously? You bought it back?
yeah. It's not. That was not part of the plan. The plan. We had our exit. Yay!
Mm.
We'll give them a couple years because we were contractually obligated to do so for additional money,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
we saw an opportunity.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
nothing against the company that bought us, but they were a publicly traded company, and
Mhm.
the markets, they were a SPAC, and everybody saw what happened to the markets with SPACs. They lost a lot of their market cap to no fault of their own, and it
Mhm.
just created an opportunity. um,
Mhm.
a little arbitrage, if you will. Um,
So, if I may ask, did you buy it back for a smaller amount than you sold it for?
Correct. It
All
was it
right.
was quite an arbitrage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we were able to buy it back using debt, a new debt
Mm-hmm.
facility. So we got to keep the money from the first transaction, and then a buy. Not only do we buy it back for less, but we obviously got to use someone else's money to buy it back for less.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was
Okay.
not part of the plan, but when an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity
Mm-hmm.
presents itself,
Mm-hmm.
and to be fair, um, we had some pretty big ideas of what we want to do with BattlBox to take it to the next step. How do we get it from
Mm-hmm.
an 8-figure company to a 9-figure company? And it's going to be a journey. And if you're able to do that, we obviously want it for ourselves. We want to reap the benefits of that. So it made even
Mm-hmm.
more sense to get it back
Yeah. Yeah.
for an arbitrage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, with a super niche business like yours, I would imagine that your passion, your ideas, your background, I mean, all the things that you brought into this business, it's going to be difficult to replicate for a new owner, right? I mean, if they just run it like, like a normal, without having the passion to grow it and without having all this back, I mean, to sell stuff for outdoors experience survival, I think it requires a bit of involvement, a bit of experience, a bit of passion to be in that space and to understand your audience, right?
Um,
So
yeah,
if
but
a guy just, yeah.
I still think it can be replicated. I
Oh, yeah.
still think, um, like it's not like it's just me doing it or it's just me and a business partner doing it. Like we have a very strong team, um, and the team can carry on. So
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I think it not necessarily replicatable, but
Hmm.
transferable.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I Yeah, even though it's niche, I definitely think if you maintain leadership in the team, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this whole business transaction, like selling your business, I mean, buying it back is a definitely new one for me. But I'm familiar with the selling your business part, and
Yeah,
it's definitely like a very exciting and also a bit scary journey, which I experienced myself. When suddenly someone just, all these people who are potential buyers, they can just look into your business to like a scary extent where
yeah.
they, and it could be a competitor who could just pretend to be a buyer and they could just basically, check whatever you're doing. So yeah, it was a scary journey. I'm not sure how it was for you, but
Same.
it's,
It's
it's
it's a scary journey, and there's poking and prodding and
yeah, yeah,
having to explain, and then that leaves a
mhm,
rabbit hole going down, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
peeling the onion back. Yeah, it's
mhm, mm,
yeah, for
yeah,
us, um, we had a we had the letter of intent signed in April of 2021. We didn't close until October.
oh yeah,
It was
wow,
a very long time, or
hmm,
it seemed like an eternity,
yeah,
of
yeah,
due diligence and audits, and
hmm,
yeah, not fun.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
not
yeah.
successful.
Yeah, exciting, stressful, but yeah, when the payday comes,
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of it's
all of the
kind of
all of the emotions. It's a emotional roller coaster.
yeah, yeah, it is exactly. Yeah, I mean, to me, to have this experience as an entrepreneur is kind of the cherry on the top. I mean, I think if you haven't experienced this, then kind of you're missing out. I think as an entrepreneur because it's so, yeah, it's really intense. To
It's
let
intense.
go.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of learnings too.
yeah, yeah,
There's so
yeah,
many takeaways.
yeah. And it's also it can be painful to let go because I mean you've spent so much time to build this thing and to grow this thing. It becomes like it becomes like a life purpose kind of thing,
Yeah,
and then to just give it away to someone else, it's can be also like a yeah
yeah. Your
painful
emotion, the emotional attack.
emotion. Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might cause you to just buy it back afterwards or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, but you got your kid back, so yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you're a lucky one. Yeah, you're a
yeah.
lucky one.
But there's a lot of that right now.
Mm,
I've spoken to, I'd say, in the past 3 months, maybe half a dozen, maybe more, like 6, 7, 8 people that have all in the last 2.5 year window have sold their business and then bought it back at a discount,
no. Wow.
just because of the global
Hmm.
economic uncertainty, and
Okay.
funkiness. They're all of a sudden,
Hmm.
this opportunity
Hmm.
is a thing now.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe that's the new way to go, to sell and buy back. Maybe.
Well, I think it's a timing thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
truly,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
truly soon, all the global markets will be better
Mm.
within a couple
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah.
There won't be that opportunity anymore.
Now, yeah, now as you mention it, actually, the guy who bought my business also offered to sell it back to me because he kind of couldn't make it
You
work
couldn't
really.
figure it
So,
out.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I was not really interested, but yeah, and now as you mentioned, it is actually a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that unusual, to have this situation going. Fantastic. Well, as you know, on this podcast, it's all about the life journey of entrepreneurs and business leaders. So I would like to meet like 10-year-old John, or 9 or 11, whatever you see fit. Just let's hang out with with the little boy John for a while and see what where he was, what was happening in his life, and then how he became the John you are today.
Yeah. So 10-year-old John, the year's 1992.
Mm,
Computers are starting to become a thing. Uh,
mm,
so in 92, my family moved. So we lived in Northern Virginia for the first 10 years of my life. And then in
mm,
92, we moved down to the suburbs of Georgia. So my dad
mm,
took a job, and one of the offices facilities was here in in the suburbs of Atlanta. So we moved down here. Um, so trying to think, 10-year-old John, kind of the little memories I still have. Um, one of the interesting ones was when I came down here, um, in school up in Northern Virginia. I wasn't considered. I was in normal classes. Um, and when I came down here, and I don't think I necessarily got retested. I think it was just my test scores that were in my, you know, file, my permanent record, if you will.
mm, mm,
All of a sudden, I was all in gifted programs,
mm,
which was interesting because
mm.
I wasn't in special smart person classes, um, in Virginia. But when I came down here, all of a sudden, I was, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's a memory. I'm trying to, like, place, are there any entrepreneurial little tidbits or things along the way?
Yeah, yeah,
But you had to think, I had a strange journey to get here. This is
yeah. Mm,
technically my third career. Um,
mm. There you go.
so, and doing vastly different things.
Mm,
But to your point in our conversation earlier, there's definitely things from the previous that built me to where I am today. So,
mm,
the first bit of entrepreneurial piece was, um so, I was at the end of elementary school when I came down here. Pretty uneventful. Rest of that, middle school. In high school, I did start getting into computers. So they interested me. I had interest in them, and obviously the internet is becoming a thing at that point. So my first taste of entrepreneurialness was, I had a friend. So internet back then for us, you could get on AOL, America Online.
mm,
That
mm,
was our big thing. And I had a friend that was building programs in Visual Basic 3, and
mm,
Also, in at this point in the 90s, if you got an email from someone, it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had mail, it was from someone you knew, because how else,
Mm-hmm.
why else would you get email?
Yeah.
So this Visual Basic program, we had it built. They built it where it would pull the people in the AOL chat rooms. It would pull them into the app, and then it would send them an email. And
Mm-hmm.
the email was spam didn't exist back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
was an unsolicited email, and
Mm-hmm.
it would have an affiliate link in there. So we'd be driving traffic to these websites that we decided to work with, and we would be paid typically on unique visitors, unique clicks, unique being defined simply as an IP address.
Wow.
And
Affiliate marketing existed back then? I mean, we're talking what, like the late 90s or what?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, 90. Trying to place this. So yeah, like 90. Let's see. I went started high school. Yeah, so like 98, 99.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um,
Wow.
so that quickly became I want to even it's not a side hustle, I'm just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I didn't know it was scaling, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew that okay, well, I have one computer doing this. If I can then take some of the money I'm making and buy a second computer, then a third computer, and
Oh,
next thing I knew, I had six computers
what?
in my room, and I'd go to school in the morning, and right before I left for school, I'd set them all up. I'd run the Visual Basic program and hit go, and I'd come home at the end of the day from school, and three of them would have gotten some kind of error and weren't working anymore, but three were still going. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I continued to do that. And it was at the time as a kid, it was an ungodly amount of money. Um,
Oh,
I think in
wow.
a few months I made $40,000, and
What?
yeah, and I'm just this kid, and yeah, it was very short lived though. A few months in, I want to say maybe 5 months in, AOL figured out this is a problem. They put
Mm.
on the front page when you logged in that they had impounded, confiscated, or the police did a Lamborghini from a spammer, and that spamming was going to be a
Mm.
they were viewing it as illegal. And as soon
Mm-hmm.
as all that happened, I was like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. Like it was the
Mm-hmm.
wild,
Mm-hmm.
wild west, and it was okay until it wasn't. And when it wasn't okay, then I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be involved in it. So
Mm-hmm.
that was it. Very short lived um thing,
But
and then
very beneficial, huh?
very
Very.
beneficial. Uh spent half the money like a kid would, not intelligently. I So I bought a car, and then I bought an expensive audio stereo system for the car because
All right.
why not? Um,
Mm.
and then yeah, and then saved the rest of the money, and then uneventful went off to university. Um, Spent all the money I had saved. The rest of it, the other half, was all gone.
Hmm.
Just being a kid. Um, but I went through it quickly, and I think that um, starts a better understanding of money to me at that point, and the value of a dollar, because I made it very easily, but then spending it all, irresponsibly, and then understanding as I got part-time jobs, and in university I was a valet, a bellman, a bartender, all at a hotel, and
Mm.
having to work harder for um, money, and that whole experience together kind of like made me have a better appreciation for
Mm-hmm.
for a dollar.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, fast forward, get done with university, and to my parents' super excitedness, I decided I want to play poker um, professionally as my career. Uh,
Hmm.
so that and
I'm
that
sure they were very happy to hear that.
super happy. Yeah, send me off to university for 4 years, so I can then decide I want to play poker. Um, so that was career one. Um,
Hmm. And
so
you actually did that.
I did 4.5 years. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, it was my job. I got to see some cool places. Went to London for the World Series of Poker Europe. Went to Melbourne, Australia for the Aussie Millions. Obviously, Las Vegas. Um, Fun journey, but I was a B plus B player, which
Mm,
um, that's great for some professions and careers. Um, but as a B plus player, I wasn't going to make enough money to be able to diversify and create something and have
mhm.
multiple income streams,
Yeah,
possible
yeah, yeah.
passive income. It wasn't going to work, and I couldn't figure out how to go from a B to an A player, and that was the problem. I'd go to
Mhm,
one of these tournaments, and I
mhm,
look at people that are maybe our age now, and
mhm,
that were B players too, and I didn't want to become them. Uh,
mhm, mhm.
so that was
How
the
exactly do you differentiate A and B players? Is that like just an earning thing, or like how
um
many
I'd
times you
say
win? Or-
yeah, I mean at the end of the day it would come down to how much money you're making.
All right.
But that would be a direct correlation to skill set. Um
Mhm,
the people on TV that were winning the tournaments were most were A plus players. Some were lucky, but yeah, it's a skill thing, honestly,
mhm,
and skill
mhm,
obviously correlates to income.
mhm,
I would equate it to a you're looking at a sports player,
mhm.
same
Yeah.
thing, right? And even in business players, right? Like
Mhm,
you have a team and you have your A plus players, and then you
mhm,
have your B players, and
mhm,
you might have
mhm.
a C player, but you don't want to keep them for very long. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so same thing.
Mhm,
So that was the end, 4.5 years.
mhm,
Um, and I decided to jump into corporate America for career number two. Uh,
mhm,
so at 26 years old, I got an entry level sales job. So 22-year-old, 21-year-old straight out of university would be getting the same job I was, but my
mhm.
4.5 years poker experience didn't correlate well into the business world of experience, right? Like,
Mhm, yeah.
um, so I started with an entry level sales job, and that became the next 7.5 years of my life.
Mm. Wow.
So I was a little bit older. I had my past learnings of making a relative for the time a large amount of money very quickly, blowing it as a child, then
Mm,
having to try to earn money again at school, and knowing that it was a little bit more difficult than the ease that it was with the email. And then 4.5 years of poker where um it's an interesting thing because money, your bankroll is how you make more money, but then you have to take out of that to live life and pay bills and expenses and
mhm,
responsibilities. But
mhm,
you want to take as little as possible because the bigger your bankroll is, the more money you can make. So
mhm,
I think I got the poker career almost gave me a master's or a doctorate in
mhm,
in money managing and
mhm, mhm,
knowing how, because I made mistakes. I made tons of mistakes, but those
mhm.
mistakes I could learn from. Um,
Yeah.
so I was instantly successful in sales. The vast difference between sales and poker was poker I could work for 13 hours in a day, and poker's 70% skill, but it's 30% luck. So you could do
Mhm,
everything textbook how you're supposed to win and still lose a third of the time. um,
mhm,
and 13-hour day, and I could have lost $10,000. Now,
Mm-hmm.
fast forward career 2, sales, I put in a 13-hour day. Worst case scenario, I'm at zero. I didn't lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that was a vastly different thing. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I knew that the harder I worked, and I could also work smarter than everyone else, and put in
Mm-hmm.
the grind, that it was pretty easy. So it quickly went from me carrying a bag, being a individual contributor. Within, I think, 8 months, I was something called a team lead, where like I was on a team, almost like a middle manager, if you will. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I still was responsible for a number, but I had a team of two or three. And within, I think, 2 years, I was a sales manager. Within a year and a half, 2 years after that, I was a sales director. And by the end of it, multiple teams. Um, I would I spent the 7.5 years at three different companies. And
Mm.
by the end of it, I was being brought in to build an enterprise sales team from scratch. Um,
Wow.
so it was a quick progression in the
So
corporate.
you were an A player in the sales world.
I would, right, with certainty, I was, and not even just an A, I was an A plus.
Oh.
I think one of the organizations I was at had 700 sales reps, and
Mm.
the entire time I was carrying a bag on my own, I was, if not the number one, I was always two or three or four out of the 700.
Oh,
It was
wow.
night and day different from poker, where I couldn't figure out how to be at the top. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I knew with sales how to be at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Was it a specific industry you were working with? I mean, what were you selling?
yeah, so it was B2B. So telecommunication
Ah.
and software as a service, unified communications. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was just really good at talking to decision makers, whether they were the business owners or the
Mm-hmm.
C-suite, um, and just humanizing and getting them to like me, and
Mm-hmm.
explaining the product, and not being overly aggressive with the sales
Mm-hmm.
tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Just really listening and understanding what their
There you
needs
go.
are, filling the needs, and working back based on their time frame. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the technology, at the end of the day, was the umbrella
Mm-hmm.
of what I was selling. And
Mm-hmm.
so, huge learnings there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one, in that 7.5 years, I met with, at some in some level, whether from start to finish or coming in as a manager and meeting with, one of the reps prospects, hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
meeting with the C-suite or the owners, um, and understanding what they were doing, and
Mm-hmm.
privy in a lot of situations of understanding what the revenue was, and
Mm-hmm.
in turn budget. And I quickly was like, man, I want to I want to be involved in something like this. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at the amount of revenue I'm bringing in for these organizations. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, they all took care of me. They all paid me very, very well. Um, but relative to how much money I was making them, it
Mm-hmm.
it was not the same. There were definitely some zeros missing. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, that led me to the last year and a half of that 7.5 year stint. I started investing in companies. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been big on network, and these were opportunities that were in my existing network. So these weren't, this wasn't like San Francisco startup. This was people that I knew, friends of friends, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
at a networking event. And I was just started investing in companies, and
Mm-hmm.
in a short few month stint, I invested
Mm-hmm.
in six companies, and BattlBox was one of them. Um,
Oh,
so BattlBox,
oh,
uh,
that's how it came about.
yeah.
Ah.
So BattlBox was um, launched in the beginning of the first week of February 2015, right before
Hmm.
Valentine's Day. Um,
Hmm.
I heard about it a week after launch,
What?
and had a deal done, was an equity owner by the third week of February.
So you must have known the owner very well.
So yeah, so the there were three principals. Um,
Mhm.
I became the fourth. I
Mhm.
went to university with the three principals. And
Ah, there
um,
you go.
arguably, I'm looking at the network, the circle of everybody that knew each other at university, and um, yeah, I was on the higher end of the successful um,
Hmm.
people, and we had chatted. So Daniel was the friend of mine that came up with the idea. I have a Christmas party every year. He had come to it the 2 months before BattlBox, and he wanted to do something new. We chatted about it. Um, he wanted some ideas. He wanted to know if I wanted to do something with him, and then I didn't hear from him again. And then 2 months later, I hear about BattlBox. I pick up the phone. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I want to be involved." Um, it's I'm coming from uh, B2B SaaS where reoccurring revenue is the model, and
Hmm.
this is reoccurring revenue, but
Yeah.
direct to consumer. And there's lots more consumers than businesses out there. So
Hmm.
my mind was racing. And, initially it was uh, board seat, limited advisement. I'm going to give 5 hours, a month. I'll help where I can. Like, let me know where you think I could help the business, and
Hmm.
that quickly turned in 5 hours a month, turned into 5 hours a week, turned into 5 hours a day, um,
Hmm.
and next thing I know, I'm figuring out marketing, sales and marketing, and technology,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
more experience, and I still have a 9 to 5. So
Hmm.
I'm working a full day. I'm coming home, and then I'm working another full day
Oh.
on BattlBox. So I'm not getting any sleep. Um,
Hmm.
and fast forward to about till April of 2016, and at that point I'm working two full-time jobs, and
Hmm.
I've got to make a decision. um, I have some significant equity in BattlBox, and then I have some phantom equity in the company I'm working for, where
Hmm.
I'll get paid if we get bought, but other than that, I don't. Um,
Hmm.
so I made the jump and came in full time,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Wow.
and that started the BattlBox journey. So it's a long journey, uh,
Oh yeah.
but
And a very interesting one. I mean, I never heard a story like this one where, I mean, to be a sales professional, especially be like an A player in the sales game, I think it's such a huge asset you can bring to the table in any kind of business. So to be, I mean, people say sales above all else. So
yeah,
yeah, so that's what every business needs in the first place, right? I mean, we
correct.
think we do this, we do that. I thought I was doing marketing, but I had to find out the hard way that I was actually selling. Marketing was my job, not doing marketing.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. I think you brought a very huge asset to the table for BattleBox, and I can imagine that it is still fun to work in this business because it is so unique and has, I bet, a lot of moving parts where where you enjoy being part of it and growing it, right?
Yeah, it's so enjoyable, right? It's I wake up every day and I'm excited at not
Mm.
only what I can do that day, but also what I'm going to learn. Because
Hmm.
the thing about um, direct to consumer and marketing is it's always changing, right? It's always
Hmm.
technology, and the methodology is progressing like exponentially at times. and
Yeah.
keeping up
Mm.
is fun, and
Oh
trying to
yeah.
be on the bleeding edge of marketing tech
Mm.
is enjoyable. And then there's the other side of the business of, procurement and supply chain operations, which um luckily my two business partners now, one runs ops, one runs finance and procurement. So I get to do really what I love, which is
Mm.
technology and the marketing and the relationships. um
Mm-hmm.
it's fun every day, and
Yeah.
that's why I wanted it back. I mean,
Mm.
it's just enjoyable.
Mm. Where do you see the cutting edge in sales and marketing right now? I mean, you are right there. That's your main business. So where do you see the biggest potential moving forward?
Sure. So two different answers. One, and it's all with a huge asterisk, because I feel like some of it might get shut down, right? We're already seeing initially Apple and then Google really halting with a lot of the privacy laws of what you can and cannot do, and obviously the
Mm-hmm.
EU has their whole set of laws of what you can and cannot do. Um, but seeing where the marketing tech was going, um, example being, you know, you you go to the BattlBox website and you're browsing around. You don't even do anything, but we've captured who your IP address, so we know who you are. We can reverse look up that to find out where you are and what your address is, and then we can send
Mm-hmm.
you a piece of direct mail. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and all you did was visit the website. Um, and
Cool. I'm waiting for that one. Are you sending me a postcard or what?
but that's a
I,
standard based on behavior on the
mm,
site.
yeah.
Technology like that. So we do that. If you check certain amount of
Mm,
boxes, um,
mm,
direct mail like that, or
mm.
reprospecting and seeing
Limited
that.
to the US, I'm guessing.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. So you won't get the direct mailer, but but yeah, technology and really understanding data and
Mhm,
seeing where and how advanced really data is becoming, I think, is a
mhm,
really, really, really big piece. Um,
mhm,
but then on the other side, I where I see direct to consumer going is interesting, because um, so direct to consumer, everything's on the need want scale, right? From the bare necessities to the nice haves, right? Toilet paper, water, obviously need.
mhm,
And there's the additional stuff you can buy that is farther on the want scale. But what
mhm,
we're seeing in just consumer behavior, and this isn't new, like this has been going on for a long time, but it continues every year to trend more and more towards that. And that's simply consumers want to identify and have a connection with the brands that they spend their disposable income on. Um,
mhm,
they want a bond and a connection, and
mhm,
you see that. I hate using the example, but it's an example everybody knows, and it's Mr. Beast, right? So Mr. Beast has all this content, built this community, and then he decides he wants to sell chocolate, and day one he's in every Walmart, right? um like, that doesn't happen to anybody else.
mhm,
You don't just have a product and then land day one in every Walmart. The world, that
mhm,
doesn't work that way. But it
mhm,
did, because he had formed a community and people connected
mhm,
with him and wanted to buy his chocolate. um
mhm,
so it's a very unusual, and it's so not what I was doing in the B2B sales world, but just
mhm,
really understanding the customer journey, and
mhm,
making it, um it's a long one. And I think that's where we're seeing this going, is this, um the decision making on consumer purchases. It's a longer journey sometimes, and
mhm.
consumers just really want to have that connection.
Yeah, I fully agree. I would call this brand building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's yeah, people don't buy things from websites; they buy things from people. I think because they
Correct.
trust people and not whatever stuff we put in front of them. But yeah, to show face, to create this connection,
Yeah.
and to be like tangible, I think that is. I definitely agree. This is the name of the game moving forward.
Right.
And trying to be the cheapest guy in the marketplace, I think that's not gonna work.
No, those days are
Right. Fantastic. Oh man, this was very insightful. I'm speaking to a marketing professional here and I'm learning a lot of things. That's fantastic. As a closing word, what kind of pieces of advice would you give someone today who is maybe employed and who want to start his own business? What do you think is the most important for them to know?
um so you know starting the own business part, I took a very conservative approach towards it, right? I waited until BattlBox was of decent size where it could fully support me without me changing my lifestyle before I came in full time, which is it's
Hmm.
definitely conservative, right? It's
Hmm.
not the traditional, entrepreneurial journey, if you will.
Bootstrapping thing, yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't me eating ramen noodles,
Hmm.
um, trying to make it work. I
Hmm.
kind of did it on the side.
Hmm.
I think doing it on the side is okay. Uh, I think the biggest piece of advice is just go. I think humans in general, we tend to, especially ones that would want to be entrepreneurs, we tend to overanalyze and almost get paralysis of analysis, like where we spend 7 months planning to do it. Just do it, and you know what? Ready, aim, fire. Just ready, fire. Maybe aim a little bit, but afterwards you can re-aim and you can refire. Like people spend 7 8 months before they launch. Like launch in a month and just know you're not going to get it perfect, and then
Hmm.
you can tweak it and you can listen to your customers and make it better.
Hmm.
Almost getting out with that MVP. um
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people spend too much time in the planning phase and not
Hmm.
enough time in the executing phase. Just go. It's not going to be perfect. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be perfect, because the faster you get to market with it, the faster you can test and see if there's validity and if there's a product market fit. And you can think, but until it's actually out there, you really don't know with 100% certainty. And
Hmm.
um we at BattlBox, we've made that mistakes before. We've sometimes spent too much time planning for a product or a new offering, and we should have just gotten it at the MVP gone and then tweaked it later.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake, and
Hmm.
best advice is just go.
Hmm.
Just go. Stop planning, stop talking about it. Just do it today. Just do it.
Oh yeah, this is the way. Just go. And I would like to add one thing though.
Okay.
Try to go with the flow.
Yes.
I like like when I listen to your story, I mean, you didn't just come with some weird idea and just drop from the sky and 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 then spend all your savings to make it work. I mean, you were smart, right? You saw things happening, you saw things develop, and you were networking with people, so there was a community, it was kind of natural, right, for you to flow into this. I mean, you
Right.
didn't have to kind of break or invent something, so you just were connected to your environment, and then these things somehow came about. So you were just smart and picking the right decision, taking the right decision, and picking the right people to work with, and that's how your success came about. So, but yeah, I fully agree. It's procrastination can be a big
Yeah.
showstopper and a deal breaker, and thinking too much and trying to be perfect are definitely qualities that are not helpful for an entrepreneur.
And that's and all those aren't going with the flow. Go with the flow. Like you're
Yeah,
spot on. It's easier. It's when you're going with stream, every
yeah,
everything
yeah. Don't try to go against it, man.
right.
Yeah, yeah, all right. Oh, cool, man. That was so much fun. Thank you so much, John. It was a real pleasure to get to know you and to hear your story. I think we all learned a lot today. And for people who would like to know more about you or find out more about BattlBox, of course, we will leave some information links in the description under the video. And yeah, so for people who want to reach out to you, I'm sure I can. And I wish you all the best with BattlBox and hope we can stay in touch.
I do too. I really appreciate it. Had a good time.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.